Okay, so in terms of are we born natural leaders, or can we become them? That's a that's a huge question. Um, so a lot of what the studies show, man can be defined, or mankind can be defined in terms of five main characteristics. They call them the big five. I won't go into detail of each of them, but just to give you some of the results that they've seen from studies over the last 30, 40 years, in psychology in particular. People, Nelson Mandela, they would have this type of character they call conscientious. Okay, now within that, there's different variations, let's call it, and they haven't been able to identify what is the characteristic that makes people productive. A typical person, conscientious, would be somebody who has a sense of duty and a strong drive towards doing the right thing. I think that aspect is, they call it conscientiousness. Now, the capacity to transform that into and produce, let's say, where we're more concerned in terms of today, in industry, you transform your conscientiousness and your drive into producing something which is of benefit to everybody. And again, we've seen various items, or what would you call them, in the world that have benefited mankind, like telephones, things like that. So, and electricity, going back a little bit further. So back to the aspect, are we born or can you become? So basically, those people, you're talking about 1% here, maybe, of the population that has this strong visionary type drive. And again, these are very few people. I'm sure you yourselves, maybe you even know somebody, and in your private life, or who maybe not have had an impact on a world scale, but on a local scale, in communities where they see a deficit in support for certain members of the community that are weak, and have done something off their own energy and drive to get that resolved. But if we concentrate more for the moment in industry, where you have a structure, hierarchy structure, where you have managers and directors and executives, how does that work? How are they born leaders? That's a classic terminology. Or have they become leaders? My experience is that again, some are very natural leaders, and some natural leaders remain non-managers, independent contributors. So how did they get to be in a position of leadership? Typically speaking, again, this aspect of conscientiousness, where you take responsibility, you feel that what you're doing needs to be done, has to be done in a certain manner. And again, within companies, you have these aspects of schedule, and if we're talking about a product, you have schedule and performance and cost. And obviously not everybody will be the manager, and you have to have people who are experts in if you take, for example, certain telecommunication products, or whatever, satellites, you need your expert who is dedicated to producing the engineering side. Now, given that satellites are so complex, you need people to coordinate that, and typically speaking, you will have people who have direct responsibility over others, and in some cases indirect. So how does that work? If you, let's say, I'm not so sure the terminology natural leader. That needs discussion. If you say you have this natural conscientiousness, that you're aware, again, that's another aspect. Empathy, the input around you is affecting, and you have then the drive, and you feel the responsibility to act. That everybody can have that. That's not limited to one people. So there is no real shorthand answer. Yes, but my experience says that people can, from one day to the next, and for even a short period, it doesn't have to be forever, be a leader within their group, or even form a group that you become a leader. So a lot of the people I see that do have success are aware of others, their position, that they don't have direct responsibility, so can't order people. And in that case, I've seen, and this is something I, as an approach I follow myself, is okay. Is everybody buying into this objective? We have to make something. You have 4 people. You have in some parts you have engineers, in some parts you've got logistics people, and so on. So you have this mixed team, and another part you have also marketing team. So you've quite a spectrum of skill sets to put together. And typically speaking, where you a leader in this case here helps people to be focused on what the objective is. Okay, that's the first, because if you've got people pulling in all different directions, then it's very unlikely that you'll achieve your goals or your objectives. So that's the first thing. Make sure that everybody is aligned on where the team needs to go. And how you do that, obviously, is typically speaking, you will, as a leader, you'll go to the individual, talk to them directly, get their input, see what they see, their aspect,